Do you think the framing is
back.
right? We are back.
We're so back.
I have not thought at all about a thumbnail for this one.
Maybe we can do it. Well, it's a little bit early, but since it does cover episode 8.
Oh, yeah.
We can have infinity. But I don't know.
Wait, how do we make an infinity?
I don't know. Or a unicorn.
Or a unicorn.
Or like maybe like this. Does that look like an infinity? Kind of. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know,
I think
but it's
how else would
8,
we do it?
And then it's
8. No. I think this one was our best bet.
infinity. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Nice. That was a good thought.
Thank you.
I like that one. Okay,
Thank
cool.
you.
Yeah, I think that was perfect.
We might need it again in the future, but yeah.
Well, maybe for the end. But I think episode 8.
Exactly. That's really the one.
That's the one. Perfect. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bekah, and this is my sister Katie.
Hi, everyone.
And this is our sister chat series where we are chatting all about The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3 as it's coming out week by week. We have covered all of the episodes up to episode 6 thus far. So in today's video, we are going to be chatting all about episodes 7 and 8. So much has happened in these last 2 episodes.
Really, everything has happened.
Everything has happened. And we have not caught up at all about the show for 2 weeks.
It's really been tough.
It's been tough. So we are going to catch up now, and we're going to take you along with us. So let's dive into episodes 7 and 8.
Let's go for it.
So every episode, we always talk about the titles first, right? Episode 7 was The Last Hurrah, and then episode 8 was Last Kiss.
Yeah.
Both of which you have predicted.
Thank you.
So now you are 2 for 8.
Yeah.
Round of applause.
I was very pleased.
Very pleased.
Yes. I think Last Hurrah, I think it made a lot of sense that it was actually for this episode and not earlier.
Yeah.
I had previously thought Last Hurrah would be for the bridal shower.
Yeah.
But this is definitely the concurrent bachelor parties where you're really, having a party.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I think it was even more fitting for this. But I also think that the name, the double meaning this time to me is, I feel like Last Hurrah is kind of this idea of like a last performance, right? Last act.
Yes.
Sometimes as well. One is like a celebration. I think that is like one common meaning.
Yeah.
But I think a Last Hurrah is also kind of like your last effort, your last performance, last act. And I think what is fitting for this episode is that it's kind of like the last performance by both Belly and like Conrad in terms of like keeping their feelings down.
Yes.
They're kind of like, we're going to continue to perform and we don't want to rock the boat. And we're really, especially Belly, she's like, I got to keep it together. The wedding is just days away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really coming very close. And she has all of these feelings that are bubbling up. And she is trying so hard, to keep it under the surface.
Yeah.
But there's little moments here and there where it's really starting to come through. So I kind of actually took it to be, on face value, it is obviously about the parties and it being kind of like your last, hurrah before you get married, but also maybe like the last performance of them putting it on before the facade breaks, where they're like, actually, we can't like
keep pretending
anymore. Our feelings are like too true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think? Really good. Yeah, I think similarly. And I also quite liked that this episode we get Taylor saying the episode title in the episode. I feel like this is the first time where someone's actually said it.
I think so.
In the show. Yeah. Which is kind of cool. I feel like it's kind of like when you hear the song title in a song.
Yes.
Like that moment.
And it all clicks.
And it kind of clicks, yeah.
Yes.
So I thought that was cool. I hadn't thought so much about what you're saying. So I think that's a really nice parallel. And I think especially the trajectory of this episode and just seeing how it's kind of all breaking down, especially for Belly.
Yeah,
And then by the end, where it's, Conrad's big kind of confessional moment, I think it makes a lot of sense. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I also think what was interesting is once I saw the name as well, and I think we knew from the trailer and things like that it did look like she was going to be celebrating with Anika and with Taylor, but I didn't actually necessarily know that it was going to be like a concurrent party.
Yes, at the same time, yeah.
Which made a lot more sense structurally, and I really liked that actually.
Yeah, I did too.
Because I think that whole scene that we had seen beforehand with like Conrad like walking, or like with Jere turning back, I was like, I don't actually know maybe the context
where that would
this.
happen.
This made like so much more sense that it was like concurrent. And you got the whole gang back together, which was kind of nice because we've been missing some of those pieces for a little while together.
Let's dive into the episode then for episode 7. So this episode starts out because basically the previous scene from episode 6 had been the bathtub surf accident scene, right?
Oh God,
so Belly was really caught up in that moment. So this is her kind of the next morning after, or maybe soon after, right?
Yeah.
And so she's in the beach house. She's very much kind of trying to convince herself that
it was all in her head.
Yeah.
It wasn't real. Yeah.
And then Conrad's going around fixing the house and always injuring himself. It's quite funny.
Yeah, and it's clear that she's trying to like avoid him, and then she sees him immediately.
She can't. She cannot.
Yeah.
And then him literally like electrocuting himself or whatever.
I know, and I'm like, they have so much spark.
Chemistry.
Okay, something I noticed from that first sequence as well is, okay, so you see Belly seeing Conrad.
Yeah.
And then Conrad, he has the flowers, like a bouquet, and he's like arranging. And I think a lot of people have said that is like a nod to Susanna and how there's clips earlier on in like the first season of her arranging like the flowers.
Especially when people are about to arrive.
Yes.
Right? And this is like they're kind of preparing for all of the friends to come on over.
So I thought that was a sweet nod.
That is sweet.
And kind of again like him being a parallel with her as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that scene where we're outside of the beach house and then Conrad's coming out the door, Belly and Jere are outside, and you can see the flowers again in front of the house.
Yes.
And you had pointed this out last episode about how it was all blue flowers and there's like one red flower. And then you can see very clearly in this scene, like so many more red flowers are starting to pop out. They're emerging. So I think that's a really nice visual aspect as well.
Yeah, I think the symbolism was coming through. But okay, then Jere arrives.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have koozies.
Yeah.
And I have talkies. And I have like
all the goods.
All the goods. And she's like, to give out at her country club wedding?
Yeah, this wedding is shaping up to be an interesting affair, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they were trying to do ultimate like frat vibes. Same with the bachelorette and bachelor party happening.
Yes.
So I think that was very interesting. I think that Jenny was trying to establish early on that, you know, they've gotten Kaylee involved. It's kind of gotten the wedding to be a bigger endeavor and event. It still feels a little bit maybe like more immature and younger. And I think, again, it's to really lean into that and be like, they're young and they're not ready still. So I think Jenny was really trying to emphasize that with a lot of the details in this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's also going into kind of like they're playing like beer pong, all of those things, which is like very normal for their age. Like in college, like they should have fun. But I think it's just like emphasizing that and maybe kind of like the contrast with like actually Belly's kind of like personality. And, like, she's cleaning, they're all like having fun, but she's actually like the one.
She's like mothering. Yeah.
I think it very much felt like Conrad and Belly are kind of like the parental.
Yeah, they're on the same page.
Yeah. It kind of feels, and it gave me kind of callbacks to Christmas when they're kind of like, we're fine being like in her PJs, like at home.
Yeah.
Like, not that I think Belly wanted like a fun time as well, of course, but I kind of felt like they had their own kind of like inside joke language as like people were being kind of like silly, playful, drunk.
Yeah.
And like smoking and like.
Yeah, Belly being like outside.
Take it outside.
Outside, please.
Yes. And I think I love the moment, obviously, when Redbird is like, I found some vessels and it's their hurricane vases.
I know, from Michael's.
Yes. And then
the moment when you hear it smash.
Yes. But I think it's also interesting because they're also kind of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't freak out.
It's sweet. Yeah, Conrad's just very like, you know, I think that was one of our vases.
Yes.
You know, it's very, and he says like one of our hurricane vases. And then she's just like, well, you know, at least it's been used.
Yeah. So I just had a vision of them as like parents in the future.
Very
wrangling
much.
Like their children.
Yeah.
And then it's all, that moment is all like burst. Then when Jere comes in and he sees them together.
Yes.
And I think, again, it's like a clear example of, you know, they're just talking normally. It's like a really like normal, innocent exchange. And you can already see like how jealous and how insecure he feels with them, even just like talking. And you're like, okay, that's not healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, he has a lot of insecurity here. And that, I think, is a common theme throughout the whole
episode. Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think it's interesting because it's kind of like, what did you expect? Like, he's left her alone all summer with him.
I know.
And he hasn't seemed that bothered about it until now when he's able to witness it, like, firsthand, you know?
I think it's seeing it in person.
Yeah.
I actually had wondered if there was going to be a moment like this in the episode. I actually had thought it was going to be during the dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
I had actually thought that maybe Conrad would have to, like, sub in for Jeremiah.
Oh, yeah.
And there was going to be a romantic moment where she's, like, coming down the aisle and it's actually to Conrad.
That would have been nuts.
That did not occur. But I think Jere, even just seeing them
in his head
in a normal encounter, he actually could still see kind of the love and care they have for each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say like it's all in his head, because actually it is real.
It is.
They have genuine feelings for each other, but it's like even a look, you can tell that these people are tethered and these people have deep love.
Yeah.
And then also just Belly, I think, again, showing kind of like how responsible she is, but then also maybe kind of like she's a little bit frustrated by Jere.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe his antics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think especially when it's all the frat boys have come round, he kind of almost more turns into like a less mature version of himself.
Yeah,
it brings out that side of him.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes into their wedding dance practices.
Oh my God.
Which it's very cringy, but I appreciate actually that Jenny included this, because I think it's also like very accurate. Like they're 20s.
I don't know. I guess I don't know.
20s. I'm like, of course.
I've never been to a wedding with dances like this happening. I'm like, what kind of wedding is this? And I just have to say, I think it's quite like Haley is organizing this country club wedding for the whole office. And then it's like, wait, like these dances are gonna happen. Like, what kind of wedding is this?
I think that's like the exact point though. You're like the cognitive dissonance. It's like there's like partners that are gonna be there and you're trying to do this like dance.
Sexy dances.
Like, this is so wrong. Like, I think that was Jenny's point of being like, it's the visions are, and I think she's
in conflict.
In conflict, and also making it like the messiest thing possible.
Wedding ever. Yeah.
And I think again, it's kind of like, if Belly was marrying Conrad, would they have these dances? I don't believe so. So I think it's one of those things again where it's like this wedding, there's so many elements that are being incorporated that are not true to who she is.
She's like catering to everyone else and like not really getting anything of herself into it. Yeah.
So I'm thinking it was Jere's idea to have these dances.
And he was loving it. He's having the time of his life rehearsing that dance.
And it was really endearing. I think that Conrad
was great.
Well, you could see he's like a little off, but also like really giving it his best.
He's
and
really
like after everything.
Yeah.
He's got him dancing. And he's a good sport.
He's a good sport.
My goodness.
He's a good sport. I mean, they're not, like, to be fair, everyone does a good job, you know? Like, they're all pretty good. I'm just like, what is happening here?
Well, I think the Blackpink dance, it needed a little bit more.
Until the end.
And it was also a nod, I feel like, a little bit to the Mindy Kaling show, Never Have I Ever. They have, like, this whole TikTok dance that they also do on that. And it kind of gave me similar vibes. Like, very Gen Z, like, TikTok.
Well, and when, who says, is it Taylor or something, who's like, do you guys want to go viral or not?
Yeah, exactly.
And Belly's like, no.
Dance mom coming out, you know, so I believed it. So I thought, you know, it added some comedic relief.
It did.
And it was supposed to be cringy on purpose.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
literally, Denise is sitting in the circle and she's like, guys, this is so cringy. And I'm like, Denise, I'm with you, girl.
Yeah,
like, Denise knows.
I think, again, it's like the talkies, the cringy dances. You're like, this is going to be a disaster. Yeah. Because I just think of having Conrad, like, it would have been them practicing, like, their slow dance. Yeah.
A little more classy.
So the vibe would have been really different. Yeah. So I appreciated those details.
It was fun. It was fun.
And I didn't anticipate, I loved that it was Blackpink. I didn't anticipate it would be a Zayn song. Great. Surprising though.
Yes, for sure.
And I also saw some of the B-roll from like behind the scenes.
Oh, really? Oh gosh,
it's kind of funny.
Send me.
It's pretty funny. Then you have Jere telling Conrad about the fact that he's going to work for his dad.
Yes.
Remember?
Well, and I thought that was so interesting that he's like talking to Conrad about it before even Belly.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
That was crazy. And there's also a scene later in this episode with Redbird where Redbird invites Jere, right, to like vacation or something.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, I need to run it by Belly.
I know.
But I was like,
you don't need to run your job by Belly?
Yeah, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, this is such a huge life update. And so, yeah, that was shocking to me that he told, one, that he was actually honest with Conrad, but that he told him before Belly.
Yeah.
And then I think it's interesting how Conrad is like, you don't have to follow in our dad's footsteps.
Yeah. I thought that was a really meaningful line that I'm hoping will finally sink in at some point. Yeah.
So I think that was actually a really important scene, him saying that and being like, you can do better actually than our dad.
Yeah. Also, should we talk about when the girls are in the pool and the guys are like grilling?
Yes.
And Anika's kind of asking Belly about history, and they're kind of chatting about. So she's like,
who's single?
Who's the single guys? And Belly lists everyone except Conrad.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. And also, I'm like, this friend group is so messy.
It's very messy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think I was a little surprised because Anika, and actually, I think throughout these 2 episodes, I was a little surprised because Anika is supposed to be like her best friend from college.
And she's not very involved.
She didn't seem super clued in on some of the lore. And I'm like, I feel like she would, obviously she hadn't met Conrad, but I kind of felt like she would know more actually. So that was a little surprising.
College best friends, you would have chatted about the past and stuff.
But maybe again, it's to show that Belly was like really trying to avoid
closed off
anything related to Conrad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting how like clearly she's about to get married, but she can't even like offer him as an available person. So you're like, red flags.
Well, and even
alarm sounding.
Yeah. Because even when Anika says, right, like, oh, I would go for him if he wasn't Belly's first love. And Belly's like, oh no, it's fine. Clearly not being fine. And then Taylor being like, don't do it. I was like, all right, Taylor.
Yeah. And I did appreciate like Anika being like, yeah, of course.
I wouldn't anyways.
Yeah. And I think it was interesting that she was like first love. So we'll circle back to that later because I was like, is there a reason why? I don't know. She might have said first love.
Yes.
Because now I have a new theory about maybe the names.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm wondering if one could be first love, actually. If she'll then... This is like one theory that people are thinking that instead of it being last, that it will now switch to first. But who knows? So let's circle back to that. But I was like, her saying first love, I wonder if that's a teaser for another name of a...
Well, and that's interesting because even in the trailer, she's like, first loves are important, right? Yeah, so she's using that line there as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was an important discussion too for like Taylor with Steven as well. It was just clear that like she hasn't really let Conrad go, obviously, in her heart, you know, in that moment. Even though she's still at that point, she's not able to articulate it. Yeah. Like, everyone can read it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Why don't we chat a little bit about Steven and Taylor, because then we get that moment where Taylor is, like, making the guac in the kitchen, right? Yes. And then Steven and Denise come in. And I quite liked her intro where she was like... Or Steven was kind of introducing them, and then she's like, I'm Taylor Jewel, M-O-H. And then Denise is like, Denise Russo, MBA. And I'm like, boss girl.
Love it.
Loved that. And I also wondered, I don't know if this is weird, but I was like, oh, Russo. I don't know if we've heard her last name before. But I immediately thought of Alex Russo from Wizards of Waverly Place. And I was like, is that Jenny's little, like, Selena Gomez nod? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think it was kind of like she's a boss woman. Yeah. Like in business, like female, person of color, like rocking it. Yeah, like awesome. I think it was really interesting, the dynamics between Taylor, Denise, Steven, especially in this episode, and then the next. Yeah. I think something that I really appreciated that comes to a head later in this episode is actually like both Taylor and Denise. They really are like girls. Yeah. Which is really cool because it would have been very easy, I think, to put them against each other. But actually, even though it kills Taylor, obviously, she's kind of like, I'll be your wing woman. Yeah. Like, Denise is actually a great egg. Like, you should end up together. Like, I'll support you, even though it's hurting her. And actually, vice versa. I think Denise actually, like, sees Taylor in, like, such a positive light. And is kind of like, I could never be Taylor. Yeah. So they're actually both really, like... generous of each other's attributes, actually, and they're both actually a little bit not insecure actually, but I think so. They actually don't see how wonderful they both are individually. Actually, like they're actually like that other girl
is the kind incredible. Of girl he would go for because like Taylor says, that's exactly the kind of girl that she figured he would always like leave her for or something. And then even in the club or whatever, Denise says like, you're the kind of girl that like he would never go for a girl like me.
Exactly. And I'm like, you're both incredible.
Awesome.
So smart, beautiful. So like I think that was interesting. They're actually both really sweet at the core. And I think for Taylor, I think she was kind of like, if Steven's genuinely interested, you know, like I want him to be happy. And I think this is a really interesting parallel actually with Conrad, where I think actually Taylor and Conrad, when it comes to their relationships, they're actually really similar. And I think this is actually why Taylor lashes out at Conrad later. Because she sees herself. She's actually very similar to Conrad, where she's like, I actually love this person so much, I'm willing to sacrifice my own happiness. And I'm actually going to support them in like being with someone else if that's what they want. I'm not going to stand in the way and I'll actually support them. And that takes a big person actually. And I think it's like, she hates that Conrad is actually doing that as well. And I think later it's actually when Conrad like stands up more, she's kind of like, oh wait, I should be doing that too, you know? So I think that whole trajectory is interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't love how, like, I felt like Denise and Steven had a lot of potential in this episode.
Yeah. They definitely, you definitely feel a lot of chemistry. They're very flirty. Even like that opening scene in the office where like Steven's like, we're the two youngest, hottest people here, and she's like, hottest? And like,
I
you know,
really
like they're
don't
very
get friend platonic vibes in my opinion. I feel like
agree.
they had genuine chemistry, so this is just one thing I will say.
I agree with you. Let's chat about it more in episode 8. But I completely agree, and I felt like this episode was really setting up like something. So that's interesting.
It is interesting. Earlier in the episode, as we talked about, Jere sees kind of the moment between Conrad and Belly. He feels insecure. And then later you find like Jere finds Belly and is like, let's have a moment together. Even though she's like pretty busy and stressed.
She's not really into it.
She's not really in the mood for it.
He's like kind of forceful about it, which is not nice.
Oh, it was a very icky scene.
It's icky.
And I think that was a really important scene again to kind of showcase that like Belly like will really do anything to please Jere, even if she's like, this is not really the time, or I'm not in like the headspace. And I think again, it's interesting because they've been together for like 4 years and I think Jenny hasn't really chosen to include other moments where I'm sure over the 4 years, like there could have been more intimate moments to include. And I feel like this is the one she chose. And then we've gotten other ones of Conrad and it's a very different
feeling.
So I think that was important to kind of be like, he just had this moment where he felt really insecure. And then I think he wanted to kind of feel like they are on the same page again. But he should have just talked to her. Like, this is the whole thing. I think
no one's talking to each other.
So I really didn't like that moment because it just felt like, you know, she was just trying to, like, please him.
And just, like, even the phrase, like, give me a kiss. And, like, stuff like it's not.
Kind of feels like property.
It feels very, like, I want to take from you what I want, you know? And it's not. It's not nice.
It's not nice. So I think that was an important scene to include, though. And I think, again, it's just to show that, like, he's starting to spiral a little bit.
I agree.
His insecurity.
And then at the end of that, when they do their whole, like, Belly's like, let's meet up together at the end of the night. Let's end up together. And then they do their mind about, like, where should we meet? You know, which they did right before the proposal, and it worked then. But here it does not work because Jere says the pool, and she's like, oh, I was thinking the beach. And it's a clear, like, oh, wait. We're not on the same page, but Jere's like, oh yeah, of course, right, the beach, you know.
And I think that moment was huge because it's like for Jere, the pool is their spot. That's where they had their first kiss. They've had a lot of like their
it's where Delicate happened in season 2.
The little fingers,
their fingers touching.
That's really their place. And obviously the beach and the ocean, that is a Conrad
Belly's place
spot. And it's also, I think that you've also shared this, but it's like the pool is a very like limited, there's only confined kind of space. And the ocean is this infinite, limitless, you know, body of water. So I think it's also to speak to like the love, the depth of the love.
And maybe even like the fear of like the ocean can be very scary because it's so big. Whereas the pool is like, it's so much smaller. It's a lot more, you know, maybe manageable, or you feel like I'm safer in this than in the vast ocean.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's like easy maybe. Because actually it is true, like Belly does love the pool.
Yeah.
So I think that is, something to be said.
Yes.
But I think you're right in that it's like she is so scared right now to leap because she's kind of like, I have these feelings, but I would be betting it all on someone that I'm actually not sure
I can trust.
Yeah. And obviously we see more into Conrad's perspective and head. So actually we're like, he's trustworthy and you can trust him. But she has been hurt before greatly.
Yeah.
So I think that is a really interesting contrast that she makes.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like the first time that they're really not on the same page.
Yeah.
Because not only the proposal, but like, when they get back together and she's like, what I'm thinking right before they kiss to Beyonce. It's again like they are on the same page.
Yeah.
So you're seeing huge cracks.
Yes.
And you're like days before the wedding.
Yes. Yeah, it's starting to break down.
It's starting to break down. But they promise that like they'll end the night by singing each other. Yeah. Which is also interesting because I'm like, you're going to party hard. There's no way.
Well, and Jere even says, like, I don't want to because we have a fishing trip in the morning. The worst thing to be would be hungover.
On a boat.
I'm going to take it easy, not get super drunk tonight. And then that just goes out the window.
Yeah, yeah. So it is interesting. I think they're kind of like, we need to have just a low-key night and then things go completely 180.
So there's this moment where the two groups kind of meet up, right? They had been separate for a bit. Then they come together. They meet up outside. Belly's a little bit tipsy. Taylor's like, I love like tipsy Belly.
Yes.
And she's very like, oh, Taylor, like you've been like such a good friend and thank you so
sister.
much. You're my sister. Thank you so much for the beautiful bridal shower. Yes. And she was like, thank you for getting my mom to come.
Yes.
And Taylor's like, what are you talking about? I had nothing to do with that. And she's like, wait, I thought you were the one to convince her to come. And Taylor says, I tried. My mother, Lucinda, tried. There was nothing we could do.
Yes.
So,
and I love this moment because in the book, it is actually Taylor who has awareness that Conrad had talked to Laurel, and she's the one who tells Belly. But in this, it's Belly finding out on her own.
Yeah, she just realizes, well, then it must have been Conrad.
Yes, and I think that moment of realization is also so interesting because she just jumps to thinking it's Conrad. Yeah. Like, she's not even like, it was Steven or it was Jere.
There's no one else.
She's like, oh my gosh, it is Conrad. Yeah. And then she has that a voiceover where she's like, when I was younger, whenever I would think of Conrad, like he would appear. Yes. And then he appears.
And then he appears walking around the corner. Yeah. And then the
flashback.
The flashback. And then the sounds of Robin start playing like right to the flashback of them when they're little kids. And the unicorn moment. And I thought that was so well done because I don't know about you, I hadn't really considered Robin to be a song in the show. But the second it started playing, I was like, that's so perfect. It's so perfect.
It was so perfect. And that song just makes me really emotional.
It makes me so emotional.
Whenever I hear it to begin with. But I think that this moment, this flashback is such a window into like innocence and childhood.
Yes. And which is what Robin is.
Yes. And the song itself is like kind of like watching a child playing, right? And so it's like Belly playing with the glass unicorns. And then I also felt like the lyrics, I was really impressed because I didn't think that much about the lyrics in this scene beforehand, right? Yeah. But I was like, oh, with time.
Exactly.
And the glass like window panes. I was like, this is really relevant.
It fit so perfectly. I was really, really impressed with that song choice and the way that it lined up with the frames and just the childhood memory and everything. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And Ellie in this moment, again, I think she is mourning kind of like the loss of her childhood self that was... She always, thought she was going to end up with Conrad. Yeah. So, like, this flashback with Robin, I think that's, like, the perfect combination. And then in the flashback, right, it's like Conrad is telling her, like, yes, you can go and play. She ends up staying at the shop
an hour
like
plus
2
later
hours or something.
After.
Which is crazy. I'm like, baby Belly was, like, playing for, like, 2 hours.
Mad focus, girl.
Mad focus. But then, Conrad had asked to, like, meet her afterwards. And then she realizes that she, like, spent too long. She runs out in distress. He, like, finds her.
It was like, we agreed to meet an hour ago.
Yes. And then, but he sees, like, how upset she is.
Yeah, she's crying.
And then it's so sweet, like even in his young form, he's like really understanding.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, it's okay, but like we have to stick together.
Yeah.
And we have to look out for one another.
Yeah.
And so it's so beautiful that like that's the flashback that happens in that moment because she's kind of like, even now he's like looking out for me. And you know, how much she had wanted the glass unicorn, and then obviously how much she had wanted her mother, you know, at all of these events. So that was incredible. Beautiful.
Perfectly done, yeah.
And then I think the conversation then that she has with Conrad, I was not expecting per se that they would get a chance to actually like talk about it like that.
Yeah.
And so I like how she confronts him. And then I also thought it was quite a flex when she's like,
did you talk to my mother?
And he's like, I talk to her all the time.
You're gonna have to specify.
I'm like, yeah, that is right.
That's the kind of man you want.
He does have a healthy relationship with Laurel where they actually do talk.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. And then I like how he you know, he really softens, and then he's like, I did talk to her, and then she's like, why? And he's like, because it was important to you.
Yeah.
And then the most important part,
he says, you should have, it's your wedding, you should have exactly what you pictured.
Exactly. And then that is like what is in her head.
Yeah. So she's going into the club with this playing in her mind.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because after that, obviously she's shaken to the core.
Yeah.
Because of this revelation. Yeah. And then she talks to Taylor and is like, okay, give me a gummy.
Yeah.
I can't process it. And I think what's also interesting is this is like the second moment where you see Jere then seeing them together. And it's kind of like, they're magnets. They have such understanding. And he's kind of, again, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like there's something here
going on. And
that is present, that is not in the past, that is current.
Yes. And it is interesting because, as you said just a bit ago, you wouldn't have thought that Belly and Conrad would be able to find a moment on a night like this to have a conversation like that. So the fact that they are, like, kind of right off the heels of, like, Jeremiah walking away and seeing them, you know, kind of about to have this more intimate conversation together. Like, it would be unsettling. It would be unsettling. Jeremiah. Like,
I completely understand. Yeah. This whole time he's felt really insecure. Yeah. And then they're having this, like, monumental moment. And obviously for Belly, this is, like, earth-shattering. Yes. Because she's like, this is the person who got my mom involved. Yeah. Like, all of the things in her head, it's all coming together. Yeah. So it created the perfect backdrop then for them to hit the club.
Yes.
So then the next montage of songs in the club were elite. So I think one of the first ones we get is like they're in the club, right? Well, one, we have Jeremiah as a bullfrog.
Oh my gosh.
Which is clever.
It was like, okay, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. I think Jenny was waiting for that one. I think that was quite clever.
Yeah.
But then you actually have that pretty like forceful conversation between Jere and Conrad.
Well, and that's another.
That was really threatening.
Jere is kind of creepy in this episode. I feel like I've seen a couple edits of like if The Summer I Turned Pretty was a horror movie, and it's just Jere saying all of these like "Give me a kiss now" or like "Belly is my family." Like, so do you get that? And it's like, he's so creepy.
He's like earlier in the episode, he's like, "Thank you for taking care of my girl all summer." Like, where were you? Okay.
Yeah.
And then he's
like, you just left her.
He's like, now we're gonna take care of each other.
I know.
We're family. Do you get that? Like, he's basically like, back off of my girl. But I'm also like, actions speak louder.
Seriously. You know? This is what I was saying as well. You were gone. You were absent. Yes. What did you expect?
Yeah. So my heart broke a little bit for Conrad there. I understand. I think Jera's kind of like, my wedding is very soon. I do need to
stake my claim.
I need to establish these boundaries because I feel the love creeping back in. Yeah. But I found that conversation to be really unsettling.
It was. It was. It gave kind of serial killer vibes.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, if you say that, you haven't acted on that this entire time.
Yeah.
So it's very empty words, I think. Okay, and then you go to the girls, and they're in the club, and my most played song from my Spotify.
Is this seriously your most played song?
From last year? Yeah.
I
Girls So Confusing
featuring
Of course. Of course.
Wow. Amazing.
This song was perfect.
It was perfect. Moment. The lyrics were exactly what they needed to be.
Exactly what they needed to be. And not only did I think it was so relevant to Belly because she's like, what the heck is happening? I actually thought it was so nice because with Denise and Taylor, actually, it's like, oh my gosh, I actually don't want to be pitted against this girl. I want to root for this girl, but we both have feelings for this boy. But actually, like, the song Girl So Confusing, it's so much about, like, the internal battles and actually, like, it's just communication-wise, like, you have all these internal battles that you weren't able to share, and it's actually nothing about the other girl.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but the other girl perceives because they don't have the full context.
Yeah.
So I thought that was actually an incredible choice for kind of like how Denise and Taylor might be feeling about each other as well.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, actually, they just got to work it out.
Yeah. Yeah. They're both kind of really cognizant of that, I feel.
Yes.
They're both very like, we're just going to let it play out, you know, the way that it will.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that was really cool to kind of like push back on any misconceptions that Taylor had about Denise.
Yes.
And I think that's also why Taylor is like, actually, she's a great person.
Yes. Well, and I think similarly for Taylor to hear from Denise, like, you know, oh, I've heard so much about you, and like, and I've wanted to get to know you, and like, this is the girl that like ties Steven Conklin up in knots and stuff. And Taylor's like, oh wait, no, that's not me. And you know.
And then obviously Belly is reeling with this revelation.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's so confusing.
She's so confused. She's so confused.
And I would be confused as well. So she's going through that all, and then the song that I was really hoping would make it this season.
And it did.
And it did.
With flying colors.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
We can't be friends.
Well, and I thought this transition was quite clever.
Quite clever.
Because it starts in the boys, right?
Yes.
And then the song comes on and Jeremiah's like throwing his drink like,
I love that song.
Yeah. And then he throws his drink all over Conrad.
Yeah.
Poor Conrad's
like, you know what? They can't really be friends.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm like, interesting. They can't really be friends. He literally is throwing his drink.
So Conrad's off to the bathroom. And then the transition like swings over to the girls'
really
club.
Cool.
It was really
good.
And
we can't be friends. And then you get this montage of Conrad edits. Okay.
So good.
You know what was so interesting, I think, of this montage? She's like thinking about all these moments that she has had with Conrad. I think what is so interesting is like the moments that are picked are a lot of moments that are, it evokes like a wedding.
Yeah.
Like wedding elements.
Yeah.
Like it's like the first look of a wedding or dancing or even when she's picked up during Christmas, it's like when you're picked up over the threshold.
Yeah.
So it's almost like she's playing back all of the scenes that she has had with Conrad that are kind of related to a wedding and how she would picture her wedding.
Yes.
You know, picture a romantic like moment with Conrad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the intention, I think, of picking all of those clips, because obviously they've had so many moments together. I think that was really interesting. And it's like in her moment of most awareness, kind of.
Yes.
She's like in a really reflective state. It's just all Conrad.
Yes.
You know, so it's really what Conrad had said beforehand, like, you should have everything you ever wanted at your wedding. She's picturing like what she would have hoped, and it's Conrad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she has an existential
crisis, as one would. So she runs over to the bathroom. Taylor follows her in.
Yes.
And she's like, Belly, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And Belly's just freaking out.
Yeah. And I think this moment, like, I was like, finally, she can be honest with her feelings.
It is, because she basically is like, because Taylor says, like, you're about to have your dream wedding. And Belly's like, no, like, this is not at all what I wanted. Like, all of the hoopla, the flowers, like, everything. It's not at all what I wanted. Like, the only thing I pictured was Conrad.
I know. And I think, you know, how she put it, like, he got me the large unicorn.
Yes.
He got me the big unicorn, and he got me my mom. That was devastating.
Yes.
And I think, again, the parallel where she was kind of like, the things that I care about the most, the things that I pictured the most, like, actually he was the one who took the effort.
Yeah.
And it's like none of the details matter. It's just been him, the person.
Yeah.
So that was a lot.
That was a lot. And you, like, Taylor's reaction was like, wow, like, this, like, okay, now the truth was coming out.
Yeah, and I think we've known, obviously, that Belly, like, all of these things have not been things that, you know, have been what she wanted for the wedding, but it was refreshing to, like, hear it from her.
Yeah.
But you just hear, like, the devastation kind of her own realization as well. I think in this moment, it's really hard for Taylor, obviously. She's been through a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I think in this moment, I did want Taylor to be like, you don't have to get married.
Yeah.
And she says this later multiple times. In this moment, I think I was kind of like, she is kind of like, you love Jere, like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I think Taylor is just such a good friend, obviously. She's following Belly's cues.
Yeah.
But I would have liked Taylor to have already at this point been like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
You know?
Yeah. I think she's so caught off guard, because I think she just...
Yeah.
And I agree. Like, I think maybe she should have been able to be clued in a bit earlier as well, but she's just following what Belly's saying.
Yeah.
So I think for the revelation to come out, she's just like, whoa, like, where is this coming from?
Totally.
Like, this seems like it's out of nowhere. Like, I think my job as the MOH is to set her straight,
keep
like,
things on
make
track.
The wedding happen.
I get it. I get it. And I think, so this is when she finds out about Christmas.
Yes.
You know, and she didn't have any idea about that.
Yes.
And I think it's so interesting because Belly feels like so guilty about this, and she's like, I have to tell Jere. And I think that's interesting because it's like, that's been eating her alive. And for Jere, when he actually like physically cheated, it wasn't something from our impression that like was eating at him, that he was like, I have to
confess.
You know, it only came out because of her hearing from other people. So at the end of the day, Belly, like, she does care about Jere enough that she's like, I don't want him to proceed without like full information. So I do really respect that.
I did too. And I actually, I felt similarly Taylor's advice to be like, no, like, why? Nothing happened. I would have wanted her to be like, okay, if you feel like you need to, then you should. You know, I think that would have been the better advice in the moment, because open communication is just important. But I think she felt, you know, this will derail everything. Let's just keep things under wraps, like, keep things on track. That kind of stuff.
And she's been worried this whole time that this was the case. And Belly kept pushing back. So I get it. It also made me think of T-Swift. Red.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I was like, oh, this is also an epic moment. Where
remembering him comes in flashbacks and echoes.
Where I was like, oh, I feel like Jenny is also playing into this.
Absolutely.
So I also appreciated that. I felt like you could put in a couple of other songs and it would also like really relate well, which is cool. So I thought something that was also interesting is that Conrad talks to Steven a little bit. And he's like, are you really going to go for Denise
when Taylor is here?
And then Steven is like, yeah, of course. Like, why not? And I thought that was really interesting because even though I feel like lately Taylor has been a little bit cold to Conrad, it's like he's still thinking about Taylor's feelings too, actually. And he's kind of like, I know how tough this has been. And he knows maybe the depth of, he can kind of see the depth of like Taylor's love. You know, for Steven and vice versa. So I thought that was really interesting too.
I did too. And I did wonder if seeing Steven go for it, because I think he's seeing himself, right? He's like, because I can't go after Belly with Jere right here. But seeing Steven be like, no, actually, like, I can. Maybe that also is a push for him of like, oh, maybe I can, you know?
I think so too. I think it was on both sides. But I thought that was really cool because I just think if the places had been reversed, for instance, like Jere, I just don't think you would have like the same consideration and thoughtfulness. And I was like, that's really nice. You know? So then we go back to the boys. And Jere is really drunk now. And all the other boys are pretty drunk except for Conrad, who's the DD, who's a designated driver.
And he had been away. He'd been in the bathroom cleaning himself up after Jere spilled his drink all over him.
And Steven has left now to go like catch up.
Denise called him after Taylor gave her the go-ahead. So they're out.
So he's out. And then you have Conrad coming back and you can hear Redbird talking about like, you know, this is like the last girl you're ever going to be with.
And how do you feel about that?
How do you feel about that? And then they're joking, really actively joking then about Lacey and the whole situation that happened in Cabo. And obviously for Conrad, this is news to him. And this was A+ acting.
His facial expression.
I really think Chris is like standout actor.
And shooting daggers literally from his eyes.
Incredible. I was like, he's about to punch him. And I almost thought he would. But you see like Conrad's recognition that like, oh my gosh, Jere like cheated on Belly, hasn't been taking care of her the way that he thought. He had stepped aside because he was like, I can't provide what Belly needs, so I'm going to let someone else. But he's like, actually, like she hasn't been in the most respectful hands. So then he's like coming, but then Jere is so drunk that like he runs to the bathroom. But I think that whole scene was really well done as well.
I thought so too.
I wasn't sure exactly like how much they would follow it from the book in terms of maybe downplaying it, but they were still like really actively joking about it. Which I think is like really hurtful.
And giving like a good amount of details, you know, like they were in there all night.
Yes.
Locked the doors. The guys couldn't even get in. So Conrad's getting the full kind of
picture.
Yeah.
Because obviously the way that Jere explained it to Belly,
Yeah.
he was kind of like, I was drunk out of my mind. Like, I don't remember anything. Like, and we don't really know the truth per se, right? But I think it's just interesting how it's characterized here.
Yeah.
More unfiltered.
Yes.
And it just gives a sense that, like, he has apologized, but how remorseful is he actually if he's, like, still joking about it now? He didn't, like, shut the frat boys down and be like, that was, like, the worst mistake of my life. Don't bring that up. You know? Like, doesn't feel tortured about it still even now. So I think that is really important to know. And then, I think Conrad, how livid he was pretty exceptional.
It was, and the restraint that he shows as well.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he wants to be breaking vases and things, but he sees Jere's,
incapacitated
out of the count. So that he's just out.
Yeah, and I think honestly this is a really interesting theme throughout these episodes too, is Conrad's restraint versus Jeremiah's
inability to restrain himself.
Yes. And I think time and time again, like this is even, I would go back to, when Conrad was watching Jere and Belly like practice for their first dance.
Yes.
It was very similar to the scene where the roles were reversed and Jere said to Firework to disrupt their moment. And it's like Conrad instead is just like watching them, but it's not like he's disrupting or like getting in the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting, like the ability to step back and not get involved even when you really want to. But then he does pick his moments to stand up for himself too, which is good.
Yes.
I did think that there would be a tussle, and I thought maybe there would be something said about their dad. Just because earlier in the episode too, Conrad was like, you're better than
you don't need to follow in these footsteps. And
so I think this is interesting, and this is what I'm waiting for. I think Jere being called on his actions in contrast to his dad hasn't really been done yet.
Yes. I agree, and I'm shocked that even now he still doesn't know.
Yeah.
So waiting for that shoe to drop.
I think so. So then they head back to the house.
Yes.
Taylor is kind of like, we have to go home.
Yeah.
Because you're not okay.
Taylor's like, we all just need to go hydrate. We all just need to go home.
Yeah. It's been a long night. You've had some earth-shattering revelations. And then you also have the frat boys coming back. And
oh my gosh. Like, him coming in and be like, where are you, Belly? I'm going to marry you wherever you are. Horror film vibes. Just so creepy.
Yes, and then Taylor is like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be meeting Belly right now. And I think, again, it's another example where it's like, obviously it was his bachelor night. Like, he was allowed to have fun, but he had made a commitment.
Yes.
And then he blows it.
Yeah. He doesn't even think about it. He's not even like, he's not even telling Taylor, oh, can you tell Belly, like, I can't make it. Like, he's so out of his mind drunk that he can't even do anything.
I will say, though, I do think that he might have genuinely gone into the night being like, I'm going to take it more easy.
Yeah.
And then after he saw Belly and Conrad together, and she was a little bit drunk, I think he was like, whatever, bets are off. I'm going to drink tonight. Like I do think that got him to spiral again. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's justification. He is horrible at like managing his feelings in response to that. But I think that's what set him off.
Yes. Well, and then I think also just the influence of the people around him and not being able to say no. Whereas you see constantly throughout the night, people are offering Conrad drinks, and he's like, no, like,
know your limits. And I think that's kind of also what Conrad says later too. He's like, act like an adult, like know your limits. But anyways, so Conrad is down at the beach, and Belly like heads to the beach, thinking that Jere is gonna be there.
And she runs up and sees the lifeguard shack, and she yells out Jere's name because she sees a guy in the building and assumes, that's where we were supposed to meet. And her face when Conrad says her name, Belly, so good.
Yeah, it is really good.
Because she's just shocked.
Yeah, of course. And then, Conrad is kind of like, join me up here. Like, we have some things to talk about. Because, he's heard now about Jere cheating and everything has changed. Because his whole commitment, his promise to Susanna, it hinged on him believing that Jere was going to be a dependable, like respectable,
better
option.
Yeah.
He had removed himself because he didn't feel like he could be the best partner for Belly. Actually.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like, well, actually, all of that thinking is out the window now because I've just learned that, you know, he had cheated. So it is interesting because you can already see Belly, you know, she's hesitant because she has been feeling all these feelings and she's like, do I want to be?
This is maybe the last place I should be right now.
Yeah. But this whole sequence, their entire conversation is pretty heartbreaking.
Yes.
But you see them, Conrad start to kind of speak up a little bit more about all the dynamics. And he's kind of like, I have something to tell you. Like, I don't want to be the one to tell you, you know, Jeremiah was unfaithful, and she's kind of like, I know. And then this has a whole sequence that we were hoping for.
Yes, this was your Jess moment.
My Jess moment. Yes.
Why did you drop out of Yale?
Which we have called. And then a lot of other people now have picked up on it too. Yeah. But he, him being like, I didn't think you would be someone who would take this behavior.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Is what he says, yeah.
Because he's like, this was just a few months ago.
Yeah, like, what are you doing marrying him now when this just happened?
And you know what's so interesting? I think that this scene, to me, it was like a flashback to, I think in season 2, when they're going back through Conrad and Belly's relationship, and many times they would be on the phone together calling.
Yeah.
There's one phone call where they talk about Adam's infidelity.
Yeah.
But then they also talk about Laurel and John and their breakup and all of that.
Yeah, how they divorced.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Belly talks about how, like, she actually thinks that if her dad had cheated, that, like, her mom wouldn't have cared. Right? And I think that's really interesting because in this moment, obviously Belly was devastated when she learned about Jeremiah, but she was able to move on very quickly.
Yeah.
From the cheating
Alarmingly
situation.
Quickly.
Yes. And she's kind of like, for Laurel, it was like she wouldn't have really cared that much because, like, she just wasn't that excited about her dad.
Yeah.
At that point.
She wasn't that attached. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. I think a lot of people have made comments as to, like, why is she punishing Conrad so much for, like, the mistakes that he has made
She says harsh things to Conrad on this night. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think what people, what they're missing is that, like, it's because the level of love and care that she has for Conrad is so much deeper that, like, the way that she's been hurts so much more.
Yeah.
And she was, I mean, it sounds bad, but she was able to kind of forgive Jere a lot more easily.
Yeah.
Because, like, she just wasn't maybe as affected by it in some cases.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to know. And obviously she's lashing out in anger. Like, everything that she's saying, it's not necessarily accurate to her feelings.
Yeah.
She's just trying to, again, keep things as status quo as possible because she's like, if there's even a shot, this is gonna break my world down. But it's really hard because she's hearing all of the things that she has wanted to hear forever.
I know.
From Conrad, and he's really laying his entire heart out there, and he's kind of like, like, I never treated you like that. I never looked at another girl. Like, I've loved you this whole time.
Yeah. Some of the statements that she makes are pretty extraordinary for her to say, I put up with a lot worse from you. That's a lot to say. Yeah. And for her to say,
we were nothing.
We were nothing.
But I think what a lot of people are forgetting is that Conrad said a lot of those same things to her.
Yes.
At the funeral, for instance.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was like, I should have never gotten with you. Like, I knew you would be like this. He really lashes out in anger as well, because at that time, he's really struggling and emotional and processing everything. And he's kind of like, I have to close the door. So I have to say things that are so damaging, because he knows that there's not really a way to walk back from it at that time.
Yeah.
So it's really similar, I think, in the book. And people have added the narration over of, like, Belly's innermost thoughts.
Yeah.
And that is really telling because she's basically like, I do still love him, but I have to make it such that, like, this does end now.
Yeah.
Because I have to marry Jere, and I have to, like, I can't bet on this forever.
Yeah.
Because, in the past, like, she has kind of waited her entire life, for him to, the Ariana Grande song, like, Wait for Your Love. Like, she's been waiting her entire life for his love. And I think what's hard is that Belly my sense is that like she is more of a words of affirmation person.
Yeah.
Sort of. And Conrad is very like
Act of service.
focused.
Yeah.
So she's heard all of the words actually from Jere. It's been very like he has really communicated that way. But Conrad has communicated for years and years and years, but it's just through actions.
Yeah.
And she hasn't realized like, what the actions mean.
Yeah.
So I think for her, she's like, I can't go down this path again, right? Like I have to find every way to block this because it's like right before my wedding.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand why she said some of the things she said.
Yes.
As heartbreaking as it was for Conrad.
Yeah.
Also imagine the timing, like in real life, like days before your wedding.
It is. And she says, you know, for you to be saying this to me now is insane. And it is. Yeah. And I think I've seen people say, you know, how could he do that? But I do feel like for him, all bets are off once he learned about
the circumstances had
Cabo.
changed. Yeah. And I just found out.
Yeah.
He waited not a beat.
Yeah.
Once he found out.
Yes. And I firmly believe that if he didn't know that information, he would have let things go along as they were.
I think so too.
So it was only when he was like, no, actually, I have categorical evidence that Belly is not in the kind of relationship that she deserves to be in.
Exactly.
And I could do better. Exactly. And I believe now, like, I am the better option. Whereas before, he thought he wasn't. Yes. So I think once that switched in his brain, as you say, he immediately was like, I have to tell her. I have to confess. Yes. I have to lay this all down on the line because this is the last chance.
Yeah.
So I respect that from him.
I respect it. It was really tough.
It was tough.
Okay, I think what's also interesting is even though we don't get the book dialogue, you can sense how devastated Belly is by this conversation.
Yes.
Because, you know, after she walks a little bit, and she's like, don't talk to me again.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she really ends it. Then she like falls to the beach and you can see like how much she's mourning the loss of Conrad, like the loss of like her childhood dreams.
Yeah.
The loss of like what they could have been. Cause she's very much like, I could say yes. And like, but then what happens to everything else? You know, like it's so intertwined now. And I think what's also really tricky is like, in the past, it is true. She did choose Conrad.
Yeah.
And then, but it came at a cost for a little while, right? Because like the rest of the family was also like her family.
Yeah.
So she lost Jere like in the process for a little bit. So she's kind of like at what cost? Steven was like upset with her too. You know, it's like it's not a decision that can be made in a vacuum. So I also respect that.
Yeah.
But you can see her devastation and she's sobbing. And then I think that this parallel was really interesting because in the first season, episode 6, when Conrad also confesses his feelings and he's like, the infinity necklace, like I did get it intentionally for you, like I do have feelings for you, you know, and she's like, it's too late, like you've already put me through so much and now you're telling me in the nth hour. I thought this was a brilliant parallel to that because again, it's like finally Conrad is so vulnerable, so honest with his feelings, he's putting it all out there, he's like, I want to be with you. But again, Belly is like, it's too late. You're too late. And she shuts him down again. So I thought it was incredible how this time, the same song was included when the party's over. But this time it was really from Conrad's perspective because it was a James Blake cover. So the first time it was Billy's song, Billy's version, obviously like a female voice. And so it was really cool, I think, to circle back to that moment, but then have it from like the devastation of Conrad's perspective. So that was huge. I was not anticipating the parallel, but it made so much sense. And I think it just felt really like final, even though I was like, obviously we have more episodes to go through and I have hope for them. But in the moment it felt like very,
it did.
Like it's really been severed kind of. Although I will say in the book, I feel like Conrad after the confession, he's like based on her, how much she is like pushing back. He's kind of like, oh wait, I know that she does love me. So I actually think he takes that conversation as like a victory.
Oh, wow.
Even though I think other people are like, oh no, he was like so heartbroken. I think actually he was kind of like, I knew that she loved me too. Like I could see it in her face.
Yes.
You know, so that's the other thing I want to say. Was I heartbroken for Conrad? Yeah, but I also felt like he had some confidence.
Yeah, you knew.
I think he had some confidence. Okay, and then I really liked, I think, the parallels that continued. So when she goes back into the house, I was anticipating that she was going to go to Jere because in the book, actually, it's that she went into Jere's room and then she actually like told him like, I love you, but he's drunk and like sleeping.
Yeah.
I loved how they changed it this time. And instead of going to Jere's room, she goes back to her room with Taylor.
Yeah.
And she's just conflicted. And I
Yeah.
like how she wasn't like, I love you to Jere.
Yeah.
It made it seem like actually she's more torn
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
And then it
well,
was,
and that parallels from the first season,
yes,
episode 6, because that whole scene starts, the sequence starts with her in bed with Taylor.
Yeah,
like
sleepover with Taylor.
Having a sleepover, yeah. And then that's when Conrad texts her.
Yes.
And then she goes out to the dog
And
to have
she
that whole
sneaks out.
conversation. So it kind of feels like full circle.
Felt super full circle and kind of like my safe spaces with Taylor,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily with Jere.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is also telling.
Yes.
Like that is kind of illuminating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought that was huge. I think what was interesting is I did kind of think that this was going to be the end of the episode. But it was not.
It was not.
And then, you know, she knocks on the
Yes.
on the wall.
Yeah.
Because her and Jere, you know, when they were younger, they would always talk like through the wall.
Because his room is right opposite.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she's knocking on the wall, and then he doesn't knock back, obviously, because
He's asleep.
But I thought that was really symbolic for a couple of different reasons.
Yeah.
One, I think she's trying to justify to herself that Jere is the correct option. And she's like, he will knock back and he will be there for me.
Yes.
He's not.
Yes.
Right? Secondly, I think it's also like there's a physical wall between them.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that wall is always going to be there, perhaps. So I think that was also really clever to include that as well.
Yeah.
To be like, actually, this entire time, her main argument has been like, I can always depend on Jere. He's always there when I need him. Conrad, like, you're never there for me. Blah, blah, blah.
And then it's really breaking down. Because,
really
I mean,
breaking
literally
down.
the fact that he wasn't even on the beach with her when he
Yes.
should have been.
Yes.
And then here she's maybe just trying to, like, get a tiny bit of reassurance.
Yes.
And no answer.
Yeah, so I thought that was really telling as well.
Yeah.
But did you think that the episode was going to end at that moment? Or you felt like, oh, there's going to still be a few more scenes?
I don't know exactly. I don't think I really was thinking about it because I think maybe I did think it would end when she was crying on the beach.
Yeah, because it's just a high climax moment.
Really high
So I was
climax.
a little surprised that we then got the scene with Steven and Denise.
Yes.
Because I was like...
That's right, yes.
I
was like, wait, this feels like not how we should end the episode.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it made sense with then what they did do for the ending.
Yeah,
Like it brought it back. But I was a little bit
the timing of that was weird. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Because I was like, we've escalated it to this level. And then it was, you know, Denise offering to Steven to like come up to her room.
Yeah.
And they were about to kiss and like have a moment.
Yes.
And then he sees Lucinda.
Yeah.
And I was like...
Yeah. And Lucinda is drunk. And previously, right before this, Taylor had called her.
Yeah.
And Taylor had been
harsh
because she's sad. And she had told Lucinda, because basically Lucinda was very like, how's it going with you and Steven?
Yeah.
And Taylor had basically just given Denise her blessing to go with Steven. And Denise
really
had gone.
State.
So she was like, Denise is exactly the kind of girl I always thought Steven would leave me for.
Yeah.
She's feeling like really sad and heartbroken and I think her mom trying to cheerlead her and be like, no, like, it's you guys, you've got this. Yeah. And then I think Taylor's saying, you know, I don't want someone who doesn't want me.
Totally, that's really fair.
Really valid, really
that's
fair.
Very valid.
And then she does get harsh where she's like, not like you do.
Yeah.
You know?
But I also get it because, I mean, this whole time, again, we've talked about it before, Taylor has really had to take on the maternal role. And it's those frustrations building up. And honestly, you know, the theme of this night is honesty.
Yeah. Everyone's laying it out.
Emotions and so I understand too why she shared that at that time.
I do too. And I think the way that her mother's relationships have played out and her view of that has really colored how she leads her own life and you know, views her own relationships. So I think it's fair for her to feel like that. Obviously hard and hurtful for her mom to hear that. But that's the kind of state that we see then Lucinda's really sad. And Taylor immediately apologizes.
She does.
And she's like, I'm just hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
So I thought that was really sweet.
I thought that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have a very heartbreaking ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second that the piano strains of LOML started, I was like,
oh,
I was like waterworks, because that song is my favorite song from the Torture Poets department. It was from the second I heard it. I was like, nothing can be better than the songwriting in this song.
I know.
It's so emotional.
I know.
So yeah, and I know we had talked about the song potentially being in the soundtrack. You had mentioned about it being, for loss of Jeremiah or something. But I thought the use of it here for the loss of, because this episode, it feels like Conrad and Belly are losing each other. They've both lost each other. And I think that's why we see Conrad in such a devastated state. I think it makes a lot of sense how he would feel in the book. Yeah. But him sitting outside of the house, her in bed, and they're both just devastated and trying to comfort themselves.
I know. It was so sad to see him out there just alone, like trying to like comfort himself.
Yeah. It's really
because I think it's also like it's been so hard for him this entire process to keep those feelings in, and then he finally was so honest and so genuine, and he was like, I love you, don't marry him, like you know,
be with me.
It was a Chuck Bass moment actually, and it's really devastating, and he really put his entire heart out there. I think that song, I really had thought it was going to be part of the season, and then I was like, maybe the time is gone, and then it was perfect, but it was a lot.
It was absolutely devastating. And I did find, because if you listen to the credits all the way through, like it goes to the end of the song.
Oh, okay.
And the end of the song says, you're the loss of my life, right? You said you were the love of my life. Now you're the loss of my life. And then actually you get at the end of the song, at the end of the credits, it goes back to these beach sounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And I thought that was so interesting. I watched it multiple times.
Of course.
It's just sad. Yeah. But it is so interesting because it goes back to the beach. It takes you back to the beach. And I was like, that's cool. So interesting that Jenny is basically leaving us in the devastation of the song right back on the beach where the devastation happened.
Totally. Ooh, okay. So listen to the end of the credits.
Yeah. I feel like Jenny Han's end songs have been absolutely fantastic.
They've communicated a lot. I think it made perfect sense to me when she, I do think in retrospect, Say Don't Go, it was a perfect song, but it's too upbeat.
It's too upbeat.
For the moment.
The vibes of LOML were much more fitting.
But it's because I was thinking, loss of my life. But I think her taking the part where it's love of my life, like that one part, then it connected it beautifully.
It did.
Yeah, no notes for that.
No notes.
Although Say Don't Go, I've seen some edits now, and I'm like, they're incredible.
They are incredible. Look, it was a fantastic cinematic idea, but the vibes of LOML cannot be beat.
I understand. Yeah, I was really cheering for. Yeah. I think I almost thought it could have been Last Kiss before the next episode came out too, though.
That would have been interesting.
I thought, okay, maybe we're starting to have all of these parallel scenes and we're going to reuse a lot of the songs. And I actually do believe this now moving forward, but it's for really strategic moments.
It is. And she doesn't repeat a lot of songs.
She doesn't.
She's very strategic in her repeats, and I thought this repeat of the Billy song with the cover, like the manual and feel, that was perfect.
It would have been too much to have then done another repeated song in the next sequence.
I think so. But I think just perfect. And I think also just, for me personally, the devastation that I associate LOML with.
No, like, every time I hear that song, I'm already on the verge of tears.
Exactly. So then to bring it to this scene, it's like, well, I'm just feeling 100% even more devastated just because of the music happening right now.
Absolutely. And I don't know, I had really thought it would be more from Belly's perspective, but it's even more
It really
haunting.
Feels like it's from Conrad's.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's even more haunting.
Yeah. Yeah, because he laid it all out and then he lost her. And but I mean, it does feel like it is from both. And they're both so devastated, but it is like you feel it very keenly from Conrad. And it's a lot.
So I think the music in this episode,
top tier.
I was on the floor.
Seriously,
I was just not
seriously
to get those 3 songs in one episode.
It's a lot.
We Can't Be Friends.
I know. And Robin. And I do
Robin.
Oh, what was your other?
We can't
Jeremiah.
be friends.
No, yeah.
No, I know. I just mean to get those 3. That's 4.
Oh, and the party and
that's what I'm saying. To get all of those in one episode, unbelievable.
It was very emotionally draining that day.
It was. I know. I think it's now. I feel I was so emotional, but now I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, episode 8 has helped.
It's healed me a bit.
It's healed some, yeah, because that was a hard day.
It was a hard week.
It was a hard week.
Yeah,
and I do think because coming off of False God at the end, which was the re-entering of the Taylor Swift soundscape, I was like, okay, we get 2 Taylor Swift songs in this episode, and then we got 2 more.
So you really think it's going to be 2 each time?
I don't know if it's going to be 2 each time, but I do appreciate that, like, we're getting the goods.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're like hefty,
They're hefty.
They're hefty songs.
I still thought maybe Castle's Crumbling, but it's
that could have worked. It could have worked, but no, LOL was perfect.
No, it has exactly the right sound.
Exactly the right sound. Jenny's such a genius.
Yeah. Okay, so at the end of this episode, then, what were your thoughts going into the next episode?
Oh my god!
I mean, we've seen the next episode now, but like, what was your headspace?
My headspace was I felt devastated for Conrad, but I think from like similarly to you, knowing where we were headed, at least in the books, I was very hopeful. Yeah, because I was like, at least people are being honest now. Yeah. Belly's admitted her feelings. Conrad's admitted his feelings. We have something to work with now. Totally. You know? So I felt hopeful. I felt like this devastation will not last. Yes. Okay. Okay, so we chatted a lot longer than expected about these 2 episodes because there's just so much to talk about. So we're breaking this up into 2 parts. This was part 1. And we covered episode 7. And stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to talk all about episode 8. So that will be the next video. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed these videos, and leave any comments below on your thoughts on episode 7. And we'll see you talking all about episode 8. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
See you. Bye.